Okay, this will be my radio shootout. First, the control, a non-tuned RF Radio Shack 12-732. And then the contenders that have a tuned RF stage, Radio Shack 12-675, Radio Shack 12-655, Radio Shack 12-650, Radio Shack 12-603, their last real super radio contender. I also have an original GE Super Radio, sometimes mistakenly referred to as the Super Radio 1, Super Radio 2, Super Radio 3, and the C Crane Radio EP. I have a nice little check sheet here that will show the relative performance of each radio. I'll probably just do a check for the one that's the best performer. My first test is on WWL, which is approximately 375 miles distant. The test location is Fry Road at Long and Bow on the line between Cypress and Katy, Texas. 12-732, no trace of WWL. 12-675, no trace of WWL. It is summer. It is about 11 a.m. local time. 12-655, occasional very weak audio detected, although I don't think you can hear it. Occasional weak audio detected. About the same, occasional very weak audio detected, although I've had to turn the volume control up very high. I'm also getting a little bit more crosstalk from local 880. Super Radio 1, although it seems to have audio, I heard a mention of a 713 area code, which is Houston. This is an image. This radio may be in need of repair. Occasional very weak audio. This is performing a lot like a couple of the Radio Shack models. Definitely the best so far. I am hearing an announcer. Although there's a lot of crosstalk from 880. I'm also hearing the same announcer, but not to the same degree as on the 3. Because this is such a bust, I'm going to also test on WBAP in a minute. But my next test will be WOAI 1200 to see which has the least static. Okay, it's respectable. I'm getting the station. It's listenable. There's audio static. Definitely less static. The tuned RF stage is helping a lot, but I still hear static. About the same, but I am getting some crosstalk from local 1180 underneath. Even with an added ceramic filter on AM, this is still not as selective as it needs to be.
Does not mean they're not going to end up on gopher rolls.
Even though this is a close pin to the 12-655, I have extremely good selectivity on this one. None of that crosstalk at all. There's still some static in the background. Okay. It's about the same in the 12-603. This is the Varactor Tune version. Some of you may notice I've already added the LED tuning indicator, which glows even though this station is 180 miles away. There is noticeably less static on this GE Super Radio.
Jeff Sessions, a Republican senator.
This is the best yet.
There's something happening here with this.
In fact, this is so sensitive that I'm hearing the interference caused by my washing machine, which I haven't heard this far away from the house on the other radios. If it wasn't for that interference, this would be almost like a local. With the washer having finished its cycle, I'm not hearing any static at all on this radio. Just a tiny bit left over, but this is the best so far. Not quite as good, and I am getting crosstalk from the local 1180.
in times like...
Okay, WBAP test. This one is respectable. It's listenable, but it has static. WBAP is, of course, a little farther away from this location. Really nice, almost static-free.
Procedure to correct your vision without surgery.
A little more audible static, but still very nice.
I'm Rick Hadley, WBAP 24/7 News. The report, but so is that.
Really, really nice. The least static yet.
The Congressional Budget Office.
Really nice, again, but I had to turn the volume knob way up because they don't have the automatic gain control quite right.
Border security amendments. Is it a country in the
A
world?
little more static than on the last two Radio Shacks,
That's no great thing.
but still nice.
Going to be.
Wow, the best yet. Pretty much static free.
They're going to be qualified, high class, so forth and so on. As people in this country.
Wow, I think a trend is emerging.
Economically become less.
There is almost no static on here. This is the best yet.
Has to have the guts to say it. Drive stores your files safely and securely.
This is also really, really good.
Off-site.
I went ahead and put this in the wideband mode
Only you.
to see if there would be any selectivity issues, but there's not. I would say the performance is about equal to the Super Radio 3. Right now, extreme regional range. This is a 580 from Mexico. Surprisingly, the control has a trace of it. Well, I'm here in Spanish, so this one is picking up the signal. It's wedged in between WFAA on 570 and KLBJ on 590. So the selectivity on this radio is moderately good, and it's sensitive enough to pick up the station. Not as good, but still there. In case any of you are curious, all but the GE Super Radio Original have been freshly aligned. The Super Radio, I have to admit, I haven't touched in a couple of years. But the last time I aligned it, I did a pretty good job. Got it back again. This is a little better. I have Spanish way in the background, but this volume is turned up as high as it can go, and I can barely hear it. Not very good, but it is there. Much better. Sounds like a bit of Mexican polka to me. Perhaps a little better. I am finding the result that I wasn't expecting. Although I'm getting crosstalk from KLBJ next to it. Not quite as good. I had to switch this one back into narrow mode. Let me try the antenna trimmer. Okay, I think we got a winner here. But I had to adjust the antenna trimmer to do it. Alright, graveyard test, 1490 KHVL Huntsville. As expected, not a trace on this radio, just crosstalk from stronger locals. No go, 1480 is slopping over. I knew this radio didn't have the selectivity of the others because it has 4 IF cans but no ceramic filter at all. It may also be suffering from the heat because germanium transistors were always subject to heat. This is the only germanium transistor-based radio in the test. Selectivity also gets this one. All I'm hearing is the stations on each side. No matter how I turn the radio, by the way. Alright, no go with this one too. Now, there is one radio that does this station, and it may be the only one. But we'll see in a minute. And here it is. The format of KHVL is oldies. And this is definitely Buffalo Springfield. I have to turn the volume really high, but this is an impressive selectivity display. Well, I had a radio failure. Fortunately, I have a second GE Super Radio 1, and I've substituted it. And the graveyard channel is coming through without a problem. Yeah, it's still better. I suspected that the two had better selectivity for some reason, but this is the first time I've ever observed it. And the Super Radio 3 is still able to separate the station out, although I am getting audibly more crosstalk from the stations next to it. Wow, best yet. This is a clear winner on this station. Expanded band sensitivity. My reference radio here control was doing so well on 1620 that I elected to change the test to 1660, which is much more distant. Not very good, but there. You notice some of the older radios I've retuned for the expanded band. Surprisingly, almost nothing. It's there, although not as good. And we got nothing. Volume's up all the way. I can hear the station, but not very well. With the volume all the way up, you probably can't hear it over the mic. Not much better on the original Super Radio. Now this is better, almost listenable. Wow, probably the best yet. I'm impressed with this radio. It's also working too. Now, one thing I noticed about this radio is that the narrow setting seems to have more static on it, and it makes it less listenable, and so some of these tests may be a bit tainted in that direction because this radio gets more static. That's either a lower noise floor or it's something inherent to the narrow setting. A lot of times the music setting is better. I'll let you judge for yourself. Extreme selectivity test. This is going to be a bit more subjective because I can't control the level of interference coming from 850. If they're playing trumpets, it's going to be bad. But if they're talking, it won't be as bad. I can hear KONO 860 in the background, but the sensitivity of this radio just isn't there. As expected, I'm hearing a lot more music. But also a lot of crosstalk. This is 4 IF cans, no ceramic filter again. I'm doing pretty well, but there's a lot more crosstalk even than on the 12-675. Yeah, it's a lot more like it there. Although I do admit that I was able to tune a little bit off to the right, maybe to get some more selectivity on this model. Volume had to be turned all the way up. A lot of crosstalk. Pretty nice. It's low as static so far. Still less static. Still a lot of crosstalk though. Still less static. A little more crosstalk. Okay, now what I've done here is I have tuned it in the narrow mode. Actually, I think it may still be in music. And I have tried with the antenna to null the other station as best I could. Let me give it another try. Let's make sure I'm in narrow again. Well, it was still in wide. Now, something I found about the antenna tuning circuit, if you turn it clockwise, you're tuning up in frequency. So I've manually tuned the radio as far away from 850 as I can, and I have tuned the antenna tuning as far as I can to get rid of the interference, but it's still there, which tells me that the KEYH 850 is intentionally exceeding the 5 kilohertz bandwidth, or you wouldn't get this degree of interference. Well, in a result that surprises me, it looks like the GE Super Radio 3 is the overall winner. I would have thought it would have been the 2, but you heard it yourself. In every case, a freshly aligned, repaired, as good as it's going to get, Super Radio 2 just was not able to equal the Super Radio 3. And Super Radio 1 was not even a contender in most categories. Also, the Radio Shack units, even the control, were as good as they are ever going to get. I'd put in the largest ferrite rod that I had, 8mm by 200mm, and I'd also aligned them, also put in narrow ceramic filters, and it's pretty clear that Radio Shack is just not as good. Well, this concludes this test. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully it's not too long.